Hi, my name is Michael Cohen. My nickname is Bird. I was a tower crane operator for 30 years until I became disabled in 2016. And in the early fall of 2016 is when I found out about the chase. I saw the poem on a YouTube video, and I knew exactly where Flaming Gorge, where Warm Waters halted. That was Flaming Gorge Reservoir, and Browns Park was just below it. I went out and bought the book, and I did what Forrest said to do. Read it 2 times, second time slow. And when I did that, I wrote everything down. All the clues, hints that I saw something in them. As an operator, we dealt with numbers a lot, and up and down, in and out. We dealt with those numbers, and I saw something. And the number of times that these numbers were repeated, or phrases or words were repeated, or parts of words. And I started to put everything together, and I opened up Google Earth and I started looking at everything. And this is basically what my notes were in 2016, 2017. Now, the first clues where to go was where Eric Sloan died at a light. And what do you have at a light? You have green light, red light. You have Green River coming out of Flaming Gorge. You have Red Creek coming, part of one of the tributaries to it. And you have to find the woods. There's no woods down there, on the rivers down low. But you take that creek and you follow it all the way on up, and you have Pine Mountain, where a number of times the word pine, behind a pine tree, porcupine, upside down pineapple cake, things like that. This points to it. Well, there you have Pine Mountain. But to get to it with a vehicle, you have to go all the way down, follow the road all the way down 318 down to 10 North. Then take that up. And to follow the clues, you have to take a little side road to go to the bottom of Pine Mountain. But you can't really get up on Pine Mountain that way. You have to continue going north, 10 North, up into Wyoming on 430. And I'll show you that later. But what we're looking for is confirmation where it's no place for the meek. That's up on the mountain, and you'll hear me gasping enough to recognize that that was no place for the meek. Your first confirmation, 6 cats like wet socks on a line. Well, there's 6 of them right there. There's the milking stool, 3-legged beast down there at the bottom. That far left sock, that's the knotted cow's tail. And notice the meadows. When he went hunting with a BB gun, he came back with 4 meadowlarks, 1 scissortail. And you have 4 meadows, 1 scissortail right there. When you flip the picture around, as if you were looking down on it from an airplane, that's a catcher's mitt. Forrest said you had to have more imagination. Well, he was quoting Einstein. You have to have more imagination than knowledge. And that kind of looks like a catcher's mitt to me. Catcher in the Rye. On the bottom right hand side, you can see that BLM road 4413. That's really the only way you can get up on the mountain, at least halfway easily. But to get to the beginning of the hints and the clues, you have to take this route. 318, you take it on down to 10 North. There's a couple of different ways you get there, but for our purposes, we're just going to take start where 318 goes to 10 north and starts his run up into up towards Irish Canyon, then up into Wyoming on 430, turns into 430. And here's the where you actually go in below the home of Brown. That's one of two mountains right there in that vicinity. This one's on this side of Pine Mountain. We're going to be going by it. There's your entrance to Irish Canyon, a beautiful place. But if you make out in the road right in front of you, there's a left right there. That's where we're going to be breaking off and taking 72 across, even though I do say 27 every now and then. It is 27 up in Wyoming. But 72, we're going to make a left there, and while this will get us up to the state line right below Pine Mountain, the problem is you really, a normal vehicle, you wouldn't want to take it up through there, cutting across the state line. It's just too bumpy and rocky. Prove it, that's where the Forrest Fenn marble factory came from, is that geology of the mountain. The next two hints, this is the borderline biddies over here on the left side of that picture. That's the three-corner monument. The two borderline biddies were Utah and Colorado, where he would have buried, distributed Ogla's ashes because it is so rich and green and flowery down there. It is really nice. On the upper left-hand corner of this picture, there's a zigzag in the road. That's Aspen Road cutting across to the bottom right, out and out. But up in the upper left-hand corner, in that clump of trees, that's where there's a Ford Model B. What's left of it. It's been pieced out, it's rusty, it's all covered up with trees. Now you can barely see it. I thought I had a picture of it, but I don't. And I only drove around that way once, coming around on Aspen Road all the way around the mountain, and it's pretty gnarly, hard on the vehicle, even a four-wheel drive. And harder on me breathing all that dust. But that's where that is right there. That green line represents going up Pine Mountain. That's the long hill when his brother and him fought while they were out going on the way back to Texas. And he got out and his brother drove off the hill with a real long drive. Well, that's that right there, but that's the second hard spot you can really not get up. That's all rocks and small bowling ball pieces all the way up through there. Up near the top, though, in a gully, there's a 41 Plymouth. It can only be seen from the air, right above it on that hill near the fence line, and on that two-track road on the side that's angling down. But to get to it, we'll have to go around on top. Going around on top, you have to go back to 10 north, run up to the state line. It turns into 430. Another 5 miles up the road, you'll see this sign, Pine Mountain 12 miles. Take a left there and start working your way on up. A couple of miles up the road, you'll see this sign coming up next. Not a road, it's a two-track. But that, if you go straight, that'll take you in the Red Creek Basin. You don't want to go there. You want to make a left right here. And that's another 8-9 miles up on top of the mountain. And we got a Mustang right beside the road. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't believe this. Hey guy, how you doing? Girl, I'm sorry. That's beautiful. God damn, that's unreal. Fucking A. Damn, that's different now. Damn. I don't know how well you can see it. Big old bull. Huh. It's a race. We got a race. Oh shit. Oh well, that was fun. In this picture, we're at the south end of the mountain on top, and we're right above the car, just about the 41 Plymouth. But notice the fence line. This represents the drawing that was made in the book where the kids were roped together. This looks, just think about it. You got the kids roped together, you got the car on the other side, and there it is looking down at the 41 Plymouth. And you can see it's in a gully. You can't be seen but only a couple of places. 41 Plymouth Deluxe. And from there, we're going to head kind of north from that one spot where the car was up to that area right there. And you'll see a close-up of that spot. The two-track road goes in there and does a U-turn. Right above that U-turn is what you're going to find next. This is a BLM marker. Approximately 18 inches tall. Somebody bent over. This represents the rusty pipe that Forrest used as a fire escape, but also 18 inches. That's how high he was when he stopped, when he came down from the plane, or when he ejected. That's how far he stopped. But that canyon over yonder, that's where Red Creek comes up and comes in through here. And it gets deeper than hell down in there. You cannot walk down in through here. I spent 8 hours walking through here once. Half mile this way, half mile up. Some of the worst walking you've ever thought of doing. You can see all the dead pine trees in there. The aspens are alright, but the pine trees, pine beetles killed them all. And people are camping everywhere up here during hunting season. And I'm going to see if I can get down to where the graves are. But it's pretty gnarly. I won't be able to film it. And there's usually trees that are down, blocking the road. So we'll see. Another overhead view of Pine Mountain shows you this circular area. There is a two-track road. You can wind through the trees there, but if you can't get down that way, just go back away the round you came and come back to the northeast side of the mountain and cut across to that area. This is where the gypsy girls were. If you count them, there's 5 roads there, or 6, depending on how you want to count them. He mentioned that a number of times, 5 or 6, 5 or 6 or 6, and 5, 5 or 6. Down below, the first dot you come to close to the two-track road, that's a grave, 1850 or so. The middle one is a fire service. This is where the gypsy girls were dancing and everything else. Let me see if I can't find that first grave. It's right in here. Yeah, that's the first grave right there. See that oblong? Oblong pile of stone, that's a grave right there. Doesn't look like it, but it is. There's one fire ring right there. There's another one up here somewhere. Can't find the other one. And the other grave is down here just a little bit farther. And here's the first grave. They were made around 1850, 1849, something like that. Their Outlaw Trail wasn't too far away. Let me see the other one. There's the other one down closer to the other end. It's got remains of a broken cross on it. Turning around and looking the other way. This is the view looking down towards Red Creek Basin. This is Red Creek Canyon in front of you, down through there. This is the canyon where Forrest describes in Lewis and Clark of the creek that they followed on the way up. And they could only get so far and had to turn around, go back down, and take the first creek they come to and follow that all the way around. That's the actual description of getting to the bottom of the mountain where the clues start. And look how deep the cracks are. That was explained washing pots and pans. This is on Red Creek below Robert Redford, where that's where you cannot get up the mountain. But moving on to the next clue, we move basically east from where we're at, and we're going to be at Pine Lake. Looking down on Pine Lake, notice the double corrals. The number 8. How many times was number 8 mentioned? You see the fence line? That represents the Katy Railroad. Those fence posts are railroad ties, and there's 2 different lines of them there. You can barely make out the one alongside the 2-track road and the one that cuts across it. You have the 2 cabins. And in that green area, about 100 yards back from the cabin, there's a spring right there. A very important spring. You can see the little blue circle behind the word spring, right behind the G. Forrest paid a blacksmith $20 to find out that for the proper length of steel for a horseshoe, you measured the hoof front and the back, then you doubled it and added an inch. Well, with that simple equation, double 20, you get 40.1. That spring's GPS location, latitude, longitude, ends with 401. As for the double corrals, right to the left of where the hand is, right there, the latitude, longitude numbers end in 274 and 272. The number of times he took off versus the number of times he landed. All these numbers come from the book. None of these are made up. These last 3 digits, this is how you could identify something that you found. The last 3 digits were in the book. This is the front of the cabins. Notice that line of stone that goes off to the left and starts going up the hill. That's very important. That's a walkway going up that hill. And notice how the road curves right there. That's a very important thing that you have to remember for later on. These are 1-room cabins, basically. They were built around 1980, but that's been when the pine beetle was growing big here. They just became abandoned. That's all I can tell you that. At the back corner of this cabin, the GPS numbers end in 423, 328. So I knew this is an important point. And I had to figure it out. I knew this is very important just because of the numbers. This was first discovered by me, found by me in beginning of August 2018. And there's the heavy loads part right behind the cabin. That's firewood. I'd hate to have to carry that in. That'd be heavy loads for sure. The other cabin you see up there on the roof on the left side, that's a skylight. That's something that Forrest mentions. Where did he mention that? I can't remember which book, but the skylights, there's one in each cabin. But going back behind the cabins, you see the circle there. You see that log just on the left side, top left of that circle? That's where we're actually headed to next. That's the next really big clue. It's part of a washing machine. That was his brother's contraption that he made. Washing machine. That was the reason for that story. And that's also represents Ogla's tub. Now, remember, most of the descriptions Forrest gave were what he could see from the air. And up there was a spring, a round spring, with the pipes coming out of it. The first time I saw it and realized what it was, I said, this is that ball of string right there. But I also knew that you had to brave the cold, and water was the one thing I knew was going to be cold. And one of the things I was using to look, what I used in my search when even from the get-go, starting it, I knew you're going to have to get into the water somewhere. I didn't know why. But anyways, I pulled off my boots, rolled the pants up as high as I could go, and climbed into this thing. And cold. It was painfully cold. Somewhere around 35 degrees. But right in that dark brown area, almost black, dead center in the middle, is where I found the blaze. The water is about 18 inches deep. 8 inches rather. And the muck below it goes down another foot. But when I stepped in there, I found something to stand on, and there it was. And this is what it looked like flipped up. Now, it's still underwater here, and it's sitting in the muck, which is a lot deeper. But I knew right off the bat that this was the blaze. If you've been wise and found the blaze, quickly look down, your quest to cease. Well, it was harder to figure out than that. Matter of fact, it took me a year from this point. Now, if you look at the N, it's not really an N, it's a symbol. Notice that slash in the middle. It's got a curve at each side. And the dot represents where the treasure's supposed to be. The same with the 7 symbol. You had to figure out where the 7 was. And then there's the dot. Line up that red rock in the middle as pointing due north. And then that pointed rock at the top right is where you're supposed to head to, go in that direction. And it took me a year to figure it out. Even though I'd already been on top of where it eventually led to, it took me a year to confirm this blaze pointing out. And you can even see the trees from right here. That's the 7. You can see a 7 in it if you turn that up on its side. But it took me a while to figure that out. Even though that when I figured out that the treasure, figuring out where the blaze led to was one thing, but I had to search everything because the treasure wasn't where it was supposed to be. I would have gone right by it and realized it, but I didn't know it could have been buried. But walking through this 5 to 10 feet at a time, these branches don't rot. They just dry out because it's high desert. And they don't break. You can't hit them with a machete and break them off. Machete just bounce off that stuff. And these things just poke you and pull the blood right out of you. It was no fun at all, walking every 5 and 10 feet, running the metal detector everywhere you could make sure of. And I did it numerous times just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Sure, I found a couple of tin cans here or there, barbed wire, or something like that. Every night, this is what it was like getting out, coming back out of the woods. Here's one of the clues he talked about with cattle when he was leaving that school, hitchhiking back home. And the sheep herder wagons that he mentions were the gypsy wagons, and the sheep come from here. Well, I'm being overrun by sheep now. Dogs, sheep, everything. Oh well, we'll see you later. Now, figuring out the N and the 7, I found out the N was the symbol, was part of the road right there, ending right beside the cabin, and the 7 was a line of trees. This is as a pilot would see it. Both the dots coincide with each other. The back corner of the cabin right beside that little shed. But it took me a year to figure that on out. And I had to cover it many ways. Look at it at Google Earth, remember what I saw on the ground, remember everything. It was putting 2 and 2 together that did this. There you go. 42.3, 32.8, pointing to the exact spot. That's where the treasure was supposed to be. The double horseshoes. This is where the double horseshoes come in. This is at the double corrals. No clues went past this spot. None of the hints or clues went past it. That's why it was on the back page by itself. He was telling you, that's it. And there really isn't anything going out that way, back to the road. There's no hints or clues. There's nothing there that you could make a hint or a clue about. That's why he came in from the other side. And these are the Katy Railroad right there. I did keep one pair of horseshoes for myself for a souvenir of that place. There was like 7 different gates, and that's how they held the gates closed. Alright, I'm sitting up here at the top, well not the top, but up here near Pine Lake. It's just over this ridge right there. And what you're looking at is the N symbol. That line of rocks going up to that one pine tree right there. That's the left side of the N symbol. The road itself is not straight. It has a curve towards me here and away from me at the other end. If you look at the blaze, that's how the actual symbol looks, just like that. And the dot is sitting right over there, right on this side of that damn one building right there. There's one spot. I've scouted this whole hilltop out at least 20 times, walking through it with a metal detector. I don't know how many times. And there's a couple of pipes in there, yes. And there's one right beside the dang cabin right there. That's known as Pete's Cabin. And the heavy loads are right behind the cabin. All the damn firewood they got stacked up right there. And the N symbol, or the 7 symbol, is in that direction right over there. It's the trees. The top of the 7 is the line of trees that comes across. I get out of the vehicle. I should be able to show it to you a little bit better when I get over there. Well, I'm having an awful hard time breathing. And I'll show it to you here in just a minute. Here, I'll start it again when I get over there, and I'll show you the latitude, longitude of it, everything. That's it for right now. The last trip I made up there in 2019, about the middle of October, I knew the treasure wasn't there anymore. I knew it wasn't there for some reason. I collected all the information, all the pictures. When I got back down to my house, I collected all that information, pictures of everything, who I'd already emailed to Forrest, and I mailed them physical mail to them. I knew it wasn't there. I alluded that there might be a spot behind the outhouses that I hadn't searched thoroughly, and there could be something there. I was giving him a way out. But when I returned the next year, I was there on May 28th, 2020, and continued to be there until the day that I emailed him on the 3rd and said the exact spot, the latitude, longitude, 423, 328, on June 3rd. And on June 6th, he announced to the world the treasure had been found. He knew he'd been caught red-handed, it wasn't there, it was a hoax. So somehow he hooked up with Jack, and now you guys know the rest of the story in that direction. This is the spot right here. There's the heavy loads, I guess. There's the cabin. This is some type of powerhouse or something. Outhouse is up there. The lake is over the ridge. The spring is over the hill over there. That's where the blaze was found. Right here, this is last numbers of latitude, longitude, 423, 328, this very spot. The trees, according to the blaze, up there, they point a little bit off over to this side. That's the top of the 7. Comes over, kind of in line with the outhouse. There's 2 of them, one got crushed. Comes over, and a line down to here, somewhere in this vicinity. Now the other line, that's the dot 7. You can see how the trees thin out to the left there. To the right, this is the line right here. We're right on the line. The dot N points to this spot right here about where I'm standing. This should be the spot of the treasure. The curve in the end, the slant, is the road with the curve in it. The rock walkway is this side of the end. The creek runoff for Pine Lake is the other side of the end. The treasure should be right here in this vicinity. Nothing's been dug up per se. This has just been torn up by the moles and everything else in the winter. See all their damn little huts and everything else running through here. 3 different times. There's nothing here. All through this land. There's the 7 point over here. Should be right in here. Right where I'm standing. The only thing that's here is a pipe that runs underground. There's one of the pipes. They had a couple of them running back and forth through here that they use for irrigation and that for some weird stuff. I will go do a breathing treatment at the truck, and I will come out here and I will sweep this whole area through here one more time, just to prove to anybody and everybody that this is where the treasure should have been. Those are the heavy loads right there, all that wood going on up through there has all been cut up into pieces. It's all been killed by pine beetles. And you wouldn't believe how hard it is to walk through that crap. Those sticks don't rot. They just stick into you, draw blood. But I will walk through this whole thing one more time with a metal detector to check it all. Just to make sure I got all my dots on the I's and all my T's crossed off. This isn't right. Spend this much time looking for this treasure, and it was never here. It was never here. That's the shack, as he's kind of portrayed in the movie or in the book, as the one-room shack that he lived in. Of course, there's 2 of them here. He didn't need to say that. But that's one of the clues, the shack right there. The spring on the other side of that hill is the ball of string. The reason it's the ball of string is because it's all the pipes coming out of it. You look at it once and you know for a fact that that was the ball, and the pipes coming out of it were the strings. And I knew you had to get into it. That was a reference to the cold that he made in the poem. You gotta brave the cold. That water's colder than hell. That's where I found the blaze. Right in that thing. And it was all for nothing. It was all a fraud. He lied. Every bit of it. And he only said the treasure was found after I told him exactly where I was going to be looking. It was right there. Not behind the outhouses, but focus on the area, on the numbers that were important to him in the book. Row 4, section 23, where his father was buried. And 328, the number of missions he had in Nam. Those are the important numbers. Every other clue on this mountain are confirmed by the numbers in the book. You got the cemetery. There's 2 graves up there in a fire circle. And there's the damn altitude. 5 or 6 trails. What they call 2 tracks. 2-track road coming off of it, depending on how you count. That's why it's 5 or 6 gypsy girls up on top of the mountain near another mark with good numbers. There's an 18-inch rusty pipe that's been bent over. It's a rusty pipe, he said in the book, that he slid down to get out of class, his fire escape, but 18 inches long because it was the height that he stopped at when he bailed out in Nam. On the other side of the Pine Mountain, going down the side, there's a 41 Plymouth sitting down there. If you look in the book at the picture of the Plymouth, in the back window, upper left side in the book, there's a couple of numbers. If you can make them out, those numbers match exactly where that Plymouth is sitting. It's a 41 Plymouth Windsor Deluxe. Farther down the hill, there's a Model B, a D or a B in the ditch. Pieces, it's all rusted up. I thought I had a picture of it, but I don't. It's down near the creek bottom. That's Little Red Creek over there. And that area down there at the bottom is the area he described where he spread Olga's ashes because it's so fertile. Flowers and everything growing over there, big time. Reference to the tub. And of course the lake, that's the lake right over there. There's no other lake around here. That's Pine Lake. Everything matches up. The numbers match up. Everything matches up. Even the story where him and Donnie rode up that creek and they got to a spot where they had to turn around because it was so steep they couldn't go up anymore. That's Red Creek. There is a spot you cannot get up. It's too steep. And they turned around. According to the book, they turned around and took the first creek around. When they went back down, that's Little Red Creek. It winds all the way around. Where warm water stops is Flaming Gorge. Take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. Is what, 49 miles, 47 miles, something like that. Leads down to the road, where it splits off of what? Where 430 goes down into Wyoming or Colorado. It splits off. One road goes up to Browns Park, and the other one comes up this way. And you have to take Route 27, or Road 27, supposedly, to get to the beginning of the Vaucluse. But you can't get up on the mountain that way. It's hard. You could, but you got to have a real badass 4x4 to get up that mountain. Where the Red Creek crosses one of the two-track roads over here. That's Redford. Red Ford. You ford the creek right there, Red Ford, Robert Redford. The train trestle that he talks about, that's the corrals over here. They were built with railroad trestle, or railroad ties. Everything is here. Every single clue is here. And I'm pissed. That's it for me.